I'm going to show you how you can use clippings from your garden to create your own beautiful Christmas wreath. And I'll also show you what this little gadget does. What do you think about when you hear the word Christmas? Well, for me, it's the Christmas tree in the corner of the lounge with all the lights on and the decorations. It reminds me of my childhood. And for my kids too, coming down trying to rip a corner of a present to see what's inside. For you, it might be breaking up from work, you know, going to the pub for a few cheeky beers, or it's friends and family coming to your home, whether it's that Christmas dinner. Christmas evokes so many positive memories with friends and family, and that's what I want to achieve on that door. A beautiful wreath that's been created from plants from my own garden to give a welcome to my guests before I even open the door. First up, I've stopped to get hold of my trug. It may look like a basket, but I'm a horticulturist. It's called a garden trug. And in there I've got my secateurs and everything I need to start harvesting things for my Christmas wreath. First up, the holly tree. Just take a look at it. It's part of the family, this tree. Look at the age of that, the trunk at the back, the holly. And its beautiful evergreen, emerald green foliage will be a perfect ingredient to the wreath. And of course, hollies have been linked with Christmas, the holly and the ivy. It's in all the songs, have been linked for Christmas for years and years, right the way back to the Roman times. But the magic of holly, here's something interesting. Now, the normal holly, the traditional native holly, doesn't normally have spiky leaves. It has these soft, round leaves. There's a couple of spikes just on that, but mostly they're smooth side. They can morph and change from smooth side to spiky if they get eaten. So if the deers are coming up and eating a plant lower down, the leaves go from being smooth to being spiky. In fact, where I've just been cutting at the base of the tree, it's already done that. So the top, it's smooth, but where it's being cut at the bottom, it's turned spiky, just as if the deers were eating. It's a self-defense mechanism for the holly. Now, there's a few berries on. We did have a big holly over the far side that died off, and I think that was a male that pollinated with a female here to help with the berries. And now it's gone. I haven't got as much of a crop than I had last year, so I'm going to plant another male one in there to pollinate, so next year I'll get even more berries. But in the meanwhile, the foliage is a perfect ingredient for my Christmas wreath. Another big ingredient to the wreath is conifers. Now, conifers work particularly well, and there are many different types as well. There's pine, there's spruce, and Nordman, and a whole host of others that we get as Christmas trees, as well as growing in our own garden. And of course, if you haven't got a conifer, a little woodland walk and you'll be able to retrieve some nice branches for your wreath. Now, this particular one here is at the back of our garden. We can see it straight from the kitchen, so it's an important part of the family, and so some of the branches are going to play a part of the wreaths that we've got. Now pines, you get lovely smells, and spruce, you get fragrance, but this one here is a thuya. If I lightly bruise the foliage, I kid you not, it's a fresh fragrance of pineapple. Try it yourself. So I've taken some of the branches here to go, and I've had quite a bountiful harvest on this one. Just one more plant to go, and I've got pretty much what I need from the wreath for my door. Christmas is all about friends and family, and this particular plant, well, it is a member of the family. It was growing in my old house and we loved it that much we've dug it up and brought it back here. It is in fact a corkscrew hazel. And if you take a look at it, it's got all these twisting stems. Hold on, I'll just show you what I've already trimmed off. It has a common name. It's a corylus hazel, twisted hazel. Some people call it Harry Lauder's walking stick, and it looks like something out of Harry Potter, doesn't it? All twisted, and I've collected quite a few branches, some of them old dead branches in the heart, so I don't have to remove out any of the living growth, but look at that. That's going to add a lot of personality and character to my Christmas wreath. And because this plant means something to me every time I come home, it's not just about guests, every time I come home and see the different components, knowing it's come from the garden and it's part of our family, it works really well. Right, I've collected plenty of material up. Come along with me now and I'll take you to the workshop and show you how to make the wreath. That was fun, collecting some of my favourite plants, and now to make the wreath itself. And then at the end, of course, I'll tell you what this clever gadget is. First of all, get yourself a base wreath frame, and you can buy these online for a couple of quid, or you can get them from florists or even garden centres. Basically, it's a series of twigs that have been wired together to create a frame. Now, you could get hold of some willow yourself and make them up, but they're so cheap to buy, you might as well get them pre-made. Now, I am going to reinforce this one because I'm going to put a lot of foliage around the outside. There is little bits of wire around that's really making that tight, but I'm using these bits of wire, and again, these are florist wire of various thickness. I've got quite a thick one here. I'm just going to poke it in there, so it's just got some traction. It's ever so easy. I'm now going to wrap it around, tucking it under, taking it around, not only reinforcing the frame itself, but giving me something quite substantial to be able to start threading things through. And at the end, I'm bending it round and pushing it in through the framework. It's as simple as come out this end here and then bend that back round into the frame. As you can see that, I've just done that wire like that, and those little gaps in between the frame itself and the wire is where I start to thread through some of my prized plants. So I'm picking up more or less where I threaded the last one, bending it round, keeping it quite tight. I don't want to make it too loose because I want plenty of points to be able to thread my plant material in. Now, as I am wrapping this around, I'm leaving about 5 centimetres, something similar to that, in between the lines of the wire, which gives me plenty of opportunity to thread material through. Because sometimes if you get a little bowl gap, you may want to fill it in with a bit more foliage, and if you've got plenty of loops to be able to do that with, it makes the job so much easier. Now, the first plant I'm going to add around the outside, I think I'm going to use the conifer really, for a couple of reasons. One, it's quite feathery, but it's also flat, so it's a perfect base around the outside. I'm going to take a look at a bit of foliage, say this one here, snipping off. It doesn't have to be a huge one like this. And effectively, I'm going to start building it and then layer along the front. So I'm building up layers as I go. So with this little piece here, I now need to thread that in. So I'm looking for an open area just where I've put some of the wire and thread that into position like that. Now also, as I was coming out, we had a bunch of flowers in a vase. The flowers have gone over, but the foliage is still there. It's eucalyptus. In fact, we've got a eucalyptus over the far side, but this is the juvenile foliage. It's the young foliage of eucalyptus, where it's more like disc-like. When it grows bigger, it goes longer. Now, out of this, you think that's just one piece, but you could probably get 3 pieces out of this. Let's just go down. I'm cutting just there. That's one piece. If I work my way down to about here, that's another one, and then there's this one here I'm just going to cut off. Now, there is the smaller wire, the floristry wire, and that works pretty well for if you wanted to create a little group. There we go. Instead of being 1, that's now 3. And another thing I like about it is it's changing the textures. It's not just about the colour, subtle differences in colour, but the texture is what really makes it stand out. So to wire it, you just get this at the bottom. It's very thin wire, and then very tightly around the stem. Now I use the next one, hold it close by, and the same. I'm wrapping it once around the stem and then round the 2 stems. Now the third one here, maybe I want that slightly at the back, so I'm offering a spray, I think they call it in the floristry world, and I'm just tight as I can so they don't drop out over there. And there I have it, a small sprig, perhaps I'd call it. And with that small sprig, I'm now going to insert that through the woody frame, get that back into position. See how I'm pulling that flat? Then I'm wrapping the wire and tucking that back in like so. Also, collecting natural things like pine cones really go a long way to give it a Christmas feel. And if you wanted to, with a little bit of spray over the top, you can give them a little dusting of snow-like effect to really make it a bit magic. Attaching the wires are easy, just wrap them around the lower segments of the pine cones themselves, and also a little bit of cinnamon. And then just join them together, because it's always better to do them in threes. It maximises the effect. Just twist the wires together, position them in a decent place, so it becomes a little feature on its own. And then you can wire that into position on the wreath itself. Of course, there are others, not forgetting my favourite, the holly. But look at the difference when you add the texture of the holly. I'm only laying these down here now, but when we wire them up, but you can start to see the effect. Plus, remember my corkscrew hazel? And if you add that in as well, it gives it a lovely earthy feeling. It shows there's a bit of thought that's gone into it. And obviously I'm going to secure those on with wires as well. Here we go. Look at that. Homemade. Every ingredient that means something to me and my family, because it's from the plants in my garden. All that remains to do is to hang it on the door. And I'll also show you what this little gizmo is. Now for the moment of truth. I always think Christmas starts when the wreath's on the door, then the trees inside, all of those magical moments. Now I'm just about to secure it onto the door. I kept giving you a tease of what this little gadget is. This is an Everest composite door, and they've actually built in a magnet into the door. Watch this, ready? Perfect. There's one point there, and there's another point there, so you can anchor and hang things on the front door. Now I've already got one at the back here. The thought of everything, Everest. There's even little cushions that you can put on the back of the wreath, so as the door opens and closes, the wire on the wreath doesn't scratch the door. There's a little buffer in between. But are you ready? I need some jingle bells ringing as I'm putting this one up. There you go. All ready for Christmas. If you haven't got one of those magnets, you can secure it with ribbon, of course, onto the knocker or onto the frame. Or if you've got a wooden door, you can put a small tack in it to secure it there. I always think that Christmas starts with a wreath, and if it's something you've made yourself, where every plant is growing and it has given something to the wreath itself, it makes it much more personal. And I can still get the fragrance. I can smell the cinnamon now. I can smell the cinnamon from that, and the eucalyptus, and also the conifer too. It's a very, very special thing. Take a moment. Take a look at some of the plants you've got in your own garden. Save yourself some money. Create something beautiful and create something meaningful to you and your family to welcome in your guests this Christmas. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more great video content like this. And don't forget, turn on your notifications so we can let you know when the latest videos come out. This video has been sponsored by Everest. For more information on Everest, just visit their website, everest.co.uk.